Hey everybody, I'm Jason Johnson with Fuzzlord Effects, and you are listening to the Fuzz Life podcast show. On today's episode, we're going to be interviewing Eric Merrow, who is someone that works in the music industry doing audio, film, and photography. He runs a YouTube channel where he does gear demos as well as doing helpful tips for musicians about audio and video recording. And today we're just going to get to talk to him, learn more about what he does, what he's doing. And also, I really wanted to pick his brain today about audio and video recording. I know there's a lot of musicians out there, or people in bands, or people that want to start their own gear demo channels that are often at a loss of how to start. So, to make sure that this episode is really valuable to you and that everyone really gets something good out of it, we're going to get to pick someone's brain that makes very professional demos. If the name sounds familiar to you, it's because you've probably heard me talking about him before, because Eric Merrow does the majority of the audio and the filming and the product photos for Fuzzlord Effects, and I really appreciate what he does. So without giving too much more of an introduction, let's get this podcast episode started. So I appreciate you taking the time to listen in today. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, be sure, as always, give me a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. And I want to know, have you ever tried to make a gear demo? And if you have, we're talking gear demo or recording your band or whatever the scenario is, but let me know in the comments below something you would like to know that would help you be more successful in making your gear demos or your audio recordings. So again, we have Eric Merrow in the studio today. I appreciate you being here today, Eric.
Well, thank you for having me.
Let's just get going, and why don't you tell the listeners today a little bit more about who you are and what it is that you do.
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me. I am Eric Merrow. I am a musician and a video and photo creator. I specialize in creating content mostly for the music industry and the music instrument industry. Aside from working with brands of like pedal brands and guitar brands, I also have a YouTube channel where I do gear demos and instructional videos aimed to help musicians.
I really get a kick out of keeping up with your videos on the channel because I think it's a nice mix between gear demos, like I get to hear new pedals that I maybe wouldn't have heard before, as well as getting some like helpful tips and stuff. I really like the content you've been making lately about how to tune up your guitar or how to do recordings and things like that. Who are some of the folks that you have worked with?
Well, thank you, first of all, for the compliment. I love, getting to know and understand these different new pedals and sort of help explain it to people who might be interested. I've worked with a lot of great brands, from Chase Bliss, Old Blood Noise, Fuzz, Native Audio. There are way too many to sit here and name, but I've worked with a lot of great people, and I'm excited to keep doing it.
So I've definitely been noticing on your channel lately that you're doing a lot more videos geared at helping musicians learn more about audio and video recording, as well as all of your standard demos. I think one of my favorite demos that I saw on your channel lately was for the Cab Zeus Mono by the GFI Systems. That's one that it's a pedal I picked up recently to aid in recording direct into my DAW. And I thought that your video was the most helpful out there that I found online.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's so cool that we have pedals like that. Like, I remember when I showed you and you were like, wait, that sounds good. Like, compared to years ago when like direct recording would be a no-no,
So why don't you explain to us a little bit about what that pedal is and what it's used for?
The GFI System Cab Zeus Mono is a speaker simulator pedal, and I've covered it in a couple videos, and we actually use it on a lot of your videos to record. And what you do is you plug your pedals into the Cab Zeus Mono, and then it applies like a filter, a simulation of a speaker, different models and different makes, and then you can take an XLR out into your interface and then get a direct sound that's really high quality.
I really dig that pedal, and I think one of the most important things that makes that special is it allows folks like us to record gear demos at no volume.
Yeah, and that's a real problem, especially that we face when producing videos. Like, we can't, crank up a 100-watt amp as much as we want to. We have to be quiet. And this is pedals like that are great ways to, solve that issue of great sounds, but at no or low volumes.
I know for me, I'm always feeling the most creative between, midnight and 2 in the mornings when I really want to jam.
Yeah, exactly.
So given that you get to work with a lot of different people in the industry and you get to see a lot of different pedals and get to make all this different content, I'm really curious to know, what are some of your favorite things about doing what you do?
Oh, there's so many, like creating videos, especially on YouTube, like gear demos and helpful videos. It satisfies so many, creative wants and needs that I have. If I get to help people understand stuff that they might not be able to try before they buy. That's a big one. I've been a musician for almost 20 years now. So I get to meld, I get to combine my love of music and performing and writing music with my professional expertise of video production and audio production, which I've been doing for just as long, and it's all rolled into sort of one delivery system of, gear demos, how-to videos. I just like helping people.
Something that stood out to me about your channel and what you do on YouTube is that often you're doing demos of a lot of gear that's more in the boutique pedal world. So I think a lot of people know that big companies like Boss and Electro Harmonics, we can go down and play those pedals at Guitar Center, for example. But maybe the new Fuzzlord pedal isn't down there. The new native audio pedal isn't down there, for example. So that's what I think is really special about what you do, is you're taking the time to show us these pedals and products that maybe we wouldn't have get a chance to play in person. And you're really kind of bridging this gap in the gear community to allow more of the listeners to hear a really good high quality demo by a new company.
Yeah, and I love working with all the small brands because they don't have all the resources of the big brands. So I like to provide that service to them, and I think everyone understands that not all pedals are going to sound the same through all rigs,
right? Which
is sort of why I've tried to delve into my demos, sort of show more of the features and possible uses for the pedal rather than this is how it sounds, to help familiarize people with the gear before they can actually get their hands on it.
I saw that was a comment on one of your recent YouTube videos that I believe it was one of the new Chase Bliss audio pedals you demoed, that someone made a comment and they thought that the way that you explained the pedal really gave them a good concept of what it was used for, because it did so many crazy things and they'd already seen some demos, but yours was the one that they thought stood out.
I love getting that feedback because it does help me, it confirms what I'm aiming for, is that the people who watch are actually learning about the pedal rather than how, other people might use the pedal and wacky sounds that it can make. They're more learning about what the pedal's designed for and just, the overall gist of it.
And I dig it, man.
I'm glad. Thank you.
So a question I have for you that I think a lot of listeners will be interested in is kind of how you got into all of this. Basically, what we see online from you on your YouTube channel and your website and your Instagram page is just all of these really high quality videos and demos and audio clips and photos and stuff. So basically, I'm wondering if you'll give us comic book issue number one, the Eric Merrow story of how you got interested in music as a kid.
Yeah.
You grew up playing music, then you got into audio. So bring us from young Eric picking up guitar for the first time to today.
Okay. Well, as you mentioned, I grew up playing music. My dad played guitar, so I always thought that was cool. And then when I got in, I think, middle school, I made friends with a couple people who played guitar, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. played my dad's guitars upside down because I am a lefty. But then my parents said, okay, we'll get you a left-handed guitar. And so then, I just played with my friends. And all throughout high school, we had a band that did like original songs. We wrote everything. And I guess I took it upon myself to be the person who, kept the instruments in tune and learn how to maintain all these different things. And I learned about, we wanted to record ourselves because we couldn't afford to go to a recording studio. We had like a digital, console, like a multi-channel console. So I was like, okay, well, I'll learn how to do this. I always took it upon myself to learn how to, utilize what we have to keep it, working, and then to push the bands and performers and my friends and I into a new direction, I guess.
So keeping that in mind, that you've been around doing this for quite a while, I remember those old digital consoles. I mean, back in the day,
yeah,
those were like big dollar items, yes. Top of the line. And a lot of folks listening today probably don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. So let's paint a picture. We've got a digital console and it's got like 8 faders. It's got like 4 mic inputs on the top. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to record, 4 tracks at a time, and then you can mix them. But then if you wanted to record more, you'd have to bounce those tracks. You'd have to imprint those tracks onto another stereo track at the end to record over that. It was very convoluted. But it's a good learning experience because you have to you have to be like, okay, well, this is what I want. This is going to be good.
Definitely. And I think it also gives us such a good appreciation for all of the good gear that's available today.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another reason why I like sharing all these things is because, we didn't have this growing up. We didn't have it wasn't easy to record great sounding stuff. It was like you had the digital console, which could sound good in the right context, or you had, the 4-track Fostex tape machine. I had that too.
Right.
Yeah. So it was more difficult to get those, any sort of high quality sounds than it is today.
Gotcha. Yeah, and you've been using this stuff for a long time. And then after you're playing music and playing with different bands and stuff, I'm guessing you must have got more into the photo and video aspect of it afterwards.
Yes, yeah. So all throughout high school, I didn't really have... So all throughout high school, I was playing music. I wasn't doing any photo things. So I went to college after high school, and I ended up studying digital media. And that's what got me into photo and video. And it was pretty easy evolution because I was already familiar with audio production, and audio is the biggest component of video. If you have bad audio in a movie or any video that you're watching, it's not good. So it was an easy transition and an easy evolution for me to grow into video creation in school. And then like I said before, it's just been so awesome to combine all the video stuff and audio stuff and music with YouTube.
It's really obvious with what you do, how passionate you are, and how this has been like a lifelong thing for you between the audio and the music and the video, and it really just shines through in your work. I wanted to ask you this, keeping in mind there's probably a bunch of people listening today that wish they could do their first gear demo, or they wish they could record a song for their band, or they just don't know where to start, and they're sitting there scrolling Instagram or doing whatever on their iPhone, watching cat videos, and maybe their buddy has a microphone laying around. But let's just say that I'm that person, and I like to play music, and I got some pedals that I want to share with people. What's your advice on how to make my first gear demo without getting too involved? And there's so many aspects of it, right? Like lighting, the camera itself, the microphones you use. So let's just say that I have an iPhone and a microphone. What do I do?
Well, if you have an iPhone and a microphone, all you need is an interface and a computer, and you're good. As I said before, the biggest part of making a watchable gear demo is going to be audio. So as long as you have audio figured out and down and sounding great, you're going to be fine. So what I would suggest is, take your 57 or whatever mic you have and put it directly in front of your amp. If you have an amp, turn that amp up as loud as you can, comfortably, and then run that mic into your computer, And then that way you get the highest quality sound. And then from there, iPhones today can record great video. And there are actually multiple demo channels on YouTube now just using iPhones. And no one bats an eye because they look fine. And all the channels that use iPhones record sound separately. So it sounds great and it looks great.
So when you're talking about making these gear demos, and then you mentioned you want to turn up the volume on your amp as loud as you possibly can.
Yes.
Is that because we should be playing really loud in the room to get a good tone, or what is it that you're really getting at?
Not specifically to get a good sound. What you need to cover up the acoustic pick attack. So that's the actual pick hitting the strings on your guitar. It's fairly loud sound. So that's going to come through the mic. The mic's going to pick that up if your amp is down low enough. So you want to turn your amp up to mask the pick attack if it's in the same room, of course. You know, if you're standing right beside the amp and you have it really low, you're going to hear that acoustic pick attack. One way that you can actually keep the amp at low volumes but get rid of that pick attack is actually draping like a moving blanket over the amp and the microphone.
That's a really cool tip.
Yeah, and that gives you that isolation so you can record the direct sound of the amp without hearing that, the acoustic pick attack.
And just to clarify, I think most people know what we're talking about, but it's really standard on Instagram. We see these iPhone demos of people just jamming at home, and then they stand kind of close to the iPhone, and basically we hear a little fuzz and a little guitar in the background, but really we're just hearing that pick attack.
Exactly, yeah. And it's not something that's right away apparent,
Right.
But when you hear it, you can't unhear it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, like you said, on these gear demos, it's really important. Like, if you have to choose between, do I make good audio or do I make good video? You make good audio.
Always audio.
And you can even just have a photo of the pedal in the settings, for example.
Exactly. That's what a lot of people do. And that's easy. That's pretty simple because you have, you record the audio and then you can just take a picture of the pedal.
Right.
And then just do the picture right over the audio.
So I'm making my first gear demo. I put an SM57 in front of my amp, whatever kind of amp it is, mic it up, record it into a DAW, and then just turn it up just loud enough or get far away from that microphone amp, but make sure that pick attack is not present in the track.
Yeah, exactly. And if you have another room that you can record the amp in, that works just as well.
Right. And that also, I think, kind of ties in nicely to the reason that both of us often will use load boxes or cab simulators to basically cut volume out of the mix, and we just record direct into our computers.
Yes.
That way we remove any of that room noise from the track.
Yeah, exactly. And like we talked about the Cabzeus Mono, there's just so many products that let you do that whichever way you want. You have amps with record outs on the back. Like I used the Boss Katana for a long time. I still have it. It's got a record out. I can just plug that 1/4 inch right into the interface and get a great sound,
I saw your gear demo on the Boss Katana, and that was a really cool video.
Thank you. Yeah. And it sounds great, and it's so cheap, Like it sounds so good.
Yeah.
I have upgraded to using my Rocket Retro Super Lead into the Universal Audio Aux, which is a load box, which then you can take a line out, a speaker simulated line out, sort of like the GFI cabs, the GFI system Cabzeus, like we were talking about earlier. But it's a little more in depth because you can design your sound in an app that they have.
Gotcha.
Which is really cool.
Gotcha. So that's a great tip, I think, for folks wanting to know about making their first gear demo or just recording audio in general. So with that in mind, for me, the person that wants to make my first gear demo, that's a great tip for the audio. Can you give me a good tip for the video now?
So for the video portion, like we said earlier, your phone is going to be just fine. If that's all you have, you can make that work. And the biggest thing with video, the most important part of video is lighting. And if you're using your cell phone, you want to get pretty much as much light as you can. And also you want it to be sort of like if you're lighting yourself, let's say you're lighting yourself playing, you want it to be sort of the light facing you. So like standing by a window with the light coming in would be better than, standing directly under a ceiling light. Because if your light source is above you, it's going to cast some weird shadows, and bringing the light source down to sort of like eye level, that's going to flatter your face and give you a better image.
So you could do anything from like maybe pulling some lamps in front of you from the room, get that light shining on your face. I think you just mentioned it with the windows, that I think that this is something that a lot of YouTubers and like girls that are doing like makeup channels and stuff do, is they'll often record their videos right in front of a window on a sunny day. So maybe if folks don't have a good lighting setup, they could open up some windows or even film outside like we have done for some of the Fuzz films. If y'all haven't checked that out, it's on the Fuzzlord Effects YouTube page, and Eric did a couple really cool short films where we moved a bunch of amps out into a field, and
that was such a process.
That was a big process.
So if anyone has seen them and does like them, I sort of want to paint a picture of Jason and I loading up both of our tiny cars. We drive hatchbacks, so we loaded up both of our cars with a full stack, and then I think it had to be like a 90-degree day. You're wearing like all black.
Of course.
And I tried to get you to wear shorts.
Wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do it. So we had to walk. How far do you think we carried each amp?
Oh, it's
not half a mile. Right?
No, not that bad. It was long enough to. We were feeling it.
We had like the higher quality cabinet that you have that was like, double the weight. We had to take a break in the middle. But anyway, we get the amps out into the field, position, like it's looking really, really cool. And then we film for like 3 or 4 hours, I think. Under the sun, the direct sun. And then,
we got done. It was like high fives, great job. We had a lot of fun that day.
Yeah.
And the hardest part, ironically, of the whole day is when we got to break down the gear, and then we realized that hot amps sitting in the sun for 4 hours get hot.
Yeah, especially when they have metal handles on the side.
Yeah, that sucked, dude. So
just if you like them, know that we put in a lot of work for that.
Yeah, that was a hard day, man, but it was totally worth it.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably one of the most fun things I've ever got to do with like a demo type deal.
Yeah, I'm super stoked on how that turned out.
So for folks that are wanting to know more about you, Eric, where can we check out what you do? I'm mainly on YouTube. I have an Instagram account. It's at Eric Merrow, just my name. I post clips from the YouTube videos. I also post some tips, like how-to tips on Instagram that are specifically there. But I'm mostly on YouTube. And that's youtube.com/Eric Merrow. I'll put that in the description below. Yeah. That way people can keep up with you. And then I know you're on Facebook, but you also have a website too, correct?
Yes, it's just my name, ericmerrow.com. And you can find sort of like an overview of what I do, some of my videos.
I noticed that there's some gear demo videos on there. There's a contact, just a bunch of different information about what you do. And I believe it's something that people that are interested in gear demos can get something from checking that out. But it's also a way for companies or pedal builders.
Yes, absolutely.
People like myself to contact and get a hold of you.
Yes, absolutely. See some of my work. Get a hold of me if you want.
So I'm curious to know, what can we be expecting from you in the future? I just saw this new video on your channel last week that was a how to get into making gear demos video that covered lighting, audio, video, and like a bunch of things all at once. And I'm really hoping we're going to see a bunch more of that stuff.
Yeah, so that is one thing that I've sort of... I've been doing this for a long time, so I like to think that I have at least some experiences that I can share to people that want to make their own demos. They want to record their own songs, their own bands. So I'm planning on leaning a little bit heavier into creating more of that type of content, as well as gear demos. So you got the gear demos and the new gear, and then you also have a resource to learn about how to make your own demos, how to make your own songs, how to record yourself easily and, make it sound great.
I really like that, man, because I like watching your channel because I get to hear about new pedals and see what other folks in the industry are doing, so I can, do my homework, stay on my toes, you know. But again, like you just mentioned, you've been doing this for a long time, and you have a lot of great insights that, I think whenever you're really good at something, it's easy to kind of overlook all the steps in the process, right? When really it's a lot of us forget the basics about making a gear demo. How do you sync the audio and the video together? That was something that I was stuck on for years. Man. So I look forward to you doing more videos like that on your channel. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that can really get some value from that. That way your channel is not just entertaining, but it's also informative. I was just on Instagram a couple days ago, man, and since your new video came out, and I saw the first post of someone talking about how they had seen your video and they had light set up, they had a pedal on the ground, and they were killing it, man.
Yeah, exactly. That was so cool because he tagged you in it too because he was playing the drone master.
Yeah, he's playing a Fuzzlord pedal. I believe that's Adam.
Was it Dylan?
It's yes, Dylan. I'm sorry, I got Adam. It's Dylan over in New York that hangs out with my buddy Wes that also plays a bunch of really cool drone metal music on their channel. But man, I saw that and I was just so happy to see that someone watched your video and got what they needed to kind of get inspired to go do something. Because something me and you always talk about, you don't know what's coming, but you're about to finish the sentence for me. Finished is better than
perfect.
Let's say that again.
Finished is wait, no, done. No,
is it? It's from
done.
Sean Cannell on YouTube, I believe.
Done is better than perfect, or finished is better than perfect.
There you go. Yeah. Now, seriously, everybody, that's something to think about. A lot of us, man, I can remember so many bands I was in as a teenager, my early 20s and stuff, where I was like, we got this 4-track Tascam tape recorder. Let's record a demo. And everybody would be like, no, it's not going to turn out as good.
Yeah.
We got to call my one homie that'll never show up. But literally, done is better than perfect.
I mean, that's something we all struggle. I struggle with that tons. Making videos, posting to Instagram, all this stuff. It's just it's a constant battle that everyone faces. Literally.
And even today, we had a lot of setup that goes involved into making the podcast and stuff. And just really everybody that's out there listening that wants to start a band, make a song, paint a painting, get into art and music, or record demos, or start a pedal company, or start a demo channel. Finished is better than perfect. Just get out there and do it. That's the hardest thing for us to get over some days.
Absolutely. And I'll tell a story. So, I was sort of in that position years ago where I was working a job that was in the video production field, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I was like, oh, maybe, as I always had it in the back of my mind, I want to make videos for pedal companies, and I sort of, waited until I found a position that was open at a bigger pedal company. I was like, oh, they need a video person or media person. So I applied, and that was my whole, plan. I'll find a job, I'll apply, and then hopefully I get it. And so I did that, and then I didn't get it. And it was a dream job. So it was oh man, that was it
was kind of a hit.
That was a hit to the confidence and all that stuff, so then that just I sort of picked myself back up off the ground after that. And I was like, well, there's no one way to do this. So after that, I just started making demos on my own.
I think that's really important for people to hear because, it's really easy to see someone like you or other people in the industry. And we just see the person today that's doing well, making good content. And I think it's important for me to hear stuff like that everyone started somewhere, or we wanted to do something and we just waited all this time and then finally just did it.
Yeah, you got to do it.
It was similar for me in school. I talked to a lot of different people when I was in school that I was in the electrical engineering program, so people would be like, one day I'm going to do this, or one day I'm going to do a startup. Or I taught people in the music program that they were going to do their PhD in music. They were going to do all the study. And then I'd say, why are you doing all that? And they say, well, I'm going to be a professional musician one day and get paid to play music. And I just thought, if you want to be a professional musician, then why not start yesterday?
Yeah, exactly. I think it was RJ Ronquillo on YouTube. He just had a video about how there are so many different ways to be specifically a professional musician. Like it's not just one path anymore. Or I don't know if it ever was, but it's not just one path. You can take so many different paths to get, to playing music and even teaching music as a profession these days.
So if someone wanted to do just what we're talking about and just start their own channel and like get into audio and video stuff, what are some resources that you think might be helpful? For one, I'm just going to go ahead and let people know that your channel, youtube.com/Eric Merrow, is a great place to start learning about that. But where else would you recommend people to go?
I would wholeheartly just Google it.
We have this thing now.
It's called Google on the internet.
Let me write that. Let's spell it. Write that down. Yeah. G-O-O. It's called the internet.
Yeah. And YouTube especially. But like there are so many videos, and I know like you can find a lot of crap out there, but I think it's outweighed by great content that teaches you valuable stuff on YouTube.
I agree.
I would start there.
And I think maybe this is something we can both touch on, given that we both went to school for our different things. I think sometimes I had this idea before I went to school that like you go to school and you get taught every single thing you need to know.
Yeah.
When really, we probably learned most of the stuff that we learned off Google and YouTube.
Exactly. I mean, even now I learn new stuff about video production or music. Yeah, exactly. Every day I learn something new. And it's good to be that way because like once you have it all figured out, once you know everything, you're just stuck there, It's
a lifelong learning process.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what can we keep our eyes out for from you in the future, Eric?
Yeah, like I said, more of the info how to blank videos, how to record demos. I'm planning on going pretty in depth on different aspects of video and audio production. So that coupled with the different gear demos that I work with, or the different gear demos that I do with all these great companies, that I'm hoping that keeps me busy for a while.
I sure think it will, and I think with the gear demo and the audio and the video production stuff, I think based off things that we've talked about, there's just so many different videos. I could see you doing 20 or 30 videos, and I'd watch every one of them. Today we're going to record with a microphone. Tomorrow we're going to record with a room mic instead of a close-up mic on the speaker cab and compare them.
That's a good one. I'm going to write that one down.
Okay. Then, of course, you got your load boxes. You got your speaker cab sims. You got, maybe just general stuff of how to dial in a pedal or... there's just a lot of stuff that you know how to do, and of course that'll extend into lighting and video and all that kind of stuff. But I look forward to seeing all that, and I look forward to seeing more actual gear demos from different companies that you work with. If someone was a pedal builder, or let's say they're a guitar builder, and they want to put out more content, how could they get a hold of you so that, I don't think a lot of people know that you also do really cool product photos.
Yeah, that's like another whole side of the whole thing. Because like I do your videos here on YouTube, and like that's a whole other aspect of it. Just, providing that service for different companies. But we've learned a lot from each other, like you, how to light videos, how to record audio. I mean, I encourage any company who has questions that I might be able to answer, who knows, to, just reach out to me on Instagram or my website,
Again, that's ericmerrow.com, correct?
Yes, it is.
And I believe you got some contact information on there.
Yeah.
I will tell you, just from where I'm sitting, who I am, that I started working with you a while ago, and all of the product photos now on the website have been done by you. And I just like talking like the business side of things with you, and just about like what branding is and what I think you are really good at doing is helping people like myself or other pedal builders or guitar builders like we've met recently put their best foot forward to people. I think you're really good at taking someone's idea and their brand or their guitar or their image and stuff, and then just helping people like us get our message across and look good to the listener.
Yeah, and that's what I enjoy doing. You know, not confining, but, you know, like operating within like visual brands, which is a challenging thing, but it's really fun.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us that you're going to keep an eye out for you lately or upcoming? Is there anything else you'd like to share with us today to the listeners about where we can find you at or what's coming up, or maybe you want to ask them a question or anything?
Yeah, no, you can find me on Instagram at Eric Merrow, youtube.com/Eric Merrow. And, you know, as far as questions, anyone listening, drop Jason a comment if you have any questions or you have any ideas about, like, you know, parts of the process that you'd like to hear more about, because I know both him and I, like both you and I, Jason, are going through those comments, just looking for
daily.
to looking for ideas on how to help the viewers and listeners learn more stuff.
I think that's really coming through with a lot of your videos you're making lately, is that you are really taking the time out, and I appreciate you doing this because I watch these videos too and get something for it. Taking the time out to just give us viewers something valuable to check out. So I really appreciate that you've been taking the time to show us some behind the scenes stuff on your gear demos and the audio and the video stuff, and also getting to check out all of these new pedals. So I appreciate you being here today, Eric.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And I look forward to seeing these new videos that come out. People, if you haven't seen the videos yet, be sure you head over to youtube.com/Eric Merrow. Check out some of his stuff. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, why don't you leave a comment below, and maybe you want to ask Eric a question, or maybe you want to give a suggestion for a helpful video he can make. Or maybe you just want to let him know you like what he does, and maybe let us know one of your favorite videos.
Maybe you just want to let him know that he looks like Billy Corgan.
Hey, man. Apparently you look like Billy Corgan, and people think me and Steve Reese from Does It Doom are the same dude.
Exactly.
I literally got a DM this week. I didn't tell you this, man. I got a DM this week where someone was watching the new video that you produced for the Fuzzlord Effects channel. I think it was 2 weeks ago we did the pedalboard video.
Yeah.
And we were playing some Monolord riffs, and I was like, hey, if you haven't heard of Steve Reese over at Does It Doom, this is where I learned these songs. And
you taught it to yourself.
Yeah, and then you put a screenshot of Steve up in the corner, and I shit you not, man. Someone DM'd me, and they weren't even joking. They're like, I just realized you guys weren't the same person. And then I saw the photo of Steve next to me. I was like, I don't even blame you, bro. It's like one's got glasses and one doesn't.
Yes. No, we're different people.
All right. Well, I appreciate everyone tuning in to listen today. And just to mention again, we have been listening to Eric Merrow, who is a
I just want to butt in real quick. Your podcast voice is a little more NPR than your video voice.
Yeah, man, it's a trip, right? So, given that Eric actually works with me a lot, and we're on and off camera together, I warned him. Yeah, you thought I was kidding.
Have you ever seen Parks and Rec? Do you watch Parks and Rec?
I've seen a few episodes.
Okay, so there's this one running bit where they go into the radio station, and it's like an NPR thing, and it's pretty much your voice.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I warned Eric before we started filming. I was like, hey, man, I know you're used to my normal speaking voice, which I don't think anyone's heard much. And then there's the YouTube voice, but I said, man, watch out. My podcast voice is a little different.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Again, everybody, Eric Merrow has been talking to us on the show today and sharing a bunch of info about what he does. Again, Eric does audio and video, and he specifically works in the music gear industry doing gear demos, and he also does all of these helpful videos on his YouTube channel. If you want to catch up with Eric and see more of these videos about how to do demos, or you just want to see like the new Chase Bliss audio demo or things like that, head on over to youtube.com/Eric Merrow. I will be sure to put all of the links to relevant websites in the description as far as his website, ericmerrow.com, where either listeners can get a kick out of seeing more demos and things like that, or pedal companies or guitar companies can get a hold of him to inquire about doing some audio and video work. I appreciate everyone listening today. Be sure you subscribe to the channel. Again, for those of you on YouTube, or if you're just listening to the podcast and you just have to get a comment in, head on over to youtube.com/FuzzlordFX and drop a comment on this video. Let us know where you're watching from, because I'm always curious to know where in the world you are. Feel free to give a greeting in the language that you normally speak, and I will use Google Translate and get back to each and every one of you. I think it's really cool that we could all come together and talk about music gear together all over the world. Be sure you subscribe to the podcast. We put out at least one episode a week, but I think it's more going to be 2 or 3 a week for a while. They're going to be live on iTunes in about a week after this one comes out. Again, I'm Jason Johnson from Fuzzlord Effects. I appreciate you listening, and this has been the Fuzz Life Podcast Show.